Yo, what is up? Welcome back to the Burnell Washburn podcast. Hope you're having an amazing day. Sending you all my love, every ounce of positive energy in my soul and my whole entire being is coming your way right now. This is my soul tribe. Anyone who listens to the podcast, it lights my heart on fire, and I appreciate you guys. I'm stoked to be sharing this message with you today. I'm feeling really good. So today I want to talk about my Ascension journey and just give you guys a little bit of context on my growth, and maybe you'll hear some things that you need to hear, some reminders, some aha moments, some epiphanies, because a lot of us are going through this ascension process right now. We're undergoing a spiritual awakening, so to speak, and it's been going on for quite a long time, and the whole entire planet right now is ascending right now. The vibration is increasing. The vibrational set point of planet Earth and human beings and Mother Gaia is elevating to a new consciousness where we're kind of going from the 3D up to like 5D and 6D and just becoming more aware of different dimensions and more aware of how we create our own reality, and we're stepping out of the victim state, and a bunch of cool stuff is happening right now. So today I want to talk about the ascension process. I kind of was able to look back at my journey and break it down into 4 sections. So I want to talk about the 4 phases of my ascension so far. Talk about some of the things I'm practicing, some of the things that are keeping me on an ultra high frequency. And hopefully I'll share a few things that you'll be able to take and implement in your life to help you along your journey. So let's get into it. First of all, huge thank you to everyone who's been messaging me saying that they're listening to the podcast. That is for sure why this is growing so much, because I haven't been doing any advertising. I haven't spent a cent on ads. I haven't been featured on any big playlists, or no big influencer has shared this or anything like that. It's all been organic word of mouth growth, because you guys will message me and say, hey, I really liked that episode, or when you say something specific that you learned from an episode, that really shows that there's value in this, and I usually screenshot that and I'll share it on my platforms, and people will be like, oh damn, I need to listen to this podcast. And it creates social proof. Social proof is so important when you're marketing or promoting anything. Like, there's just so much junk and stuff out there in the world that, like, we need to know that similar-minded people, or people that we aspire to be like, are kind of vouching for something before we're going to give it a chance. So when you guys message me or share it on your Instagram stories or leave a review, all of that is forms of social proof that help the tribe grow, and it helps the empowering messages empower and uplift more people. So I can't thank you enough for that. It means the world to me. Please keep, even every week, even if you are always messaging me, like, it does not get annoying. It lights me up. It makes me feel so good. Inspires me to keep recording more episodes, and keeps my brain stirring on how I can provide more value. And yeah, shout out to everyone that's been doing that. It really helps. And shout out to everyone who's been on the Patreon, supporting just even $5 a month, joining the gratitude gang. We got a couple people doing $10 a month, some people doing $20 a month. It really goes a long way. There's some expenses and some costs associated with running an online business and a YouTube channel and a podcast and the music and all the things that I do. I've been self-funding, investing in myself for a decade now. This month, April 2019, is actually the 10-year anniversary of when my first album came out. So I've been committed and dedicated to spreading these vibes for 10 years now. I've been all in on my passion. I've been making a living off of it for about 8 or 9 years. There's been a few little rough periods where I had some side jobs or things like that, but for the most part, been making my living for nearly a decade doing what I love, and it just keeps growing and getting bigger and better. And I keep evolving and finding new ways to provide value. And so all the people that are supporting on Patreon and sharing this and listening and showing love on social is like holding me accountable to be a better version of myself. So it's truly a win-win situation where like I feel like more accountable to be on a higher frequency and just keep my shit on lock, because I know people are looking up to me, and not looking up to me like as if I'm bigger or better than them, but like looking up to me like, hey, I appreciate this dude's energy and I want to be incorporating some of that energy in my life. And a lot of musicians look up to me for what I've done in the music space, and now there's people looking up to me who want to start a podcast, and they're getting, I don't want to say looking up to me, that almost puts me on a pedestal, but they're inspired by the work that I'm doing. And the inspiration goes full circle, because when I see people taking actual value from the things I share and applying it to their life to make their life better, it makes me so happy. It lights my soul up. I've said this before, but I get more pleasure and more joy from helping other people thrive than I do from thriving myself, because it's awesome to be thriving. Like, I genuinely am thriving right now on a lot of levels. But what good is that? Like J. Cole says in his song Middle Child, he's like, what good is first class if my homies can't sit? I'm editing that because I'm white, but he's like trying to put on for his team and his crew, and his label Dreamville, he's trying to like elevate the status of everyone that he's working with, because it's lonely at the top unless you got people to share it with, and success unshared is the biggest failure. Achieving a great life for yourself and not sharing that with other people is just like the fastest way to be miserable, pretty much. So I get a lot of joy from sharing this, and I really appreciate you guys coming on this journey with me and sort of letting me come on your journey with you. And really, we're all one on this ascension process, just rising up, awakening. So I wanted to talk about the ascension process today. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been on the journey with me. Thank you to everyone who's been sharing it. Thank you to everyone who's been showing love on the music lately. I've been getting more streams than ever. My beats have been just flying off the shelf. It seems like every beat I post is just gone within like a few minutes now, which is crazy, because that was just an affirmation in my journal that I tricked myself into thinking was my reality, and now it's my reality, because subconscious, that's how the subconscious mind works. Once it believes that things are a certain way, then things are that certain way. So quantum physics, crazy, but yeah, I just started saying, my beats are selling within a few hours, and really started believing that. And then next thing I know, I was making better beats, and I was making better visuals for them and promoting them better, and found more inspiration and more tools and things that could help me. And it just, all these things clicked to help me actually make that my reality once I believed that that was my reality. So now your boy is about to just be balling out, doing what I love. I've been doing what I love, but now I'm going to be like, I'm stepping into an abundance phase where it's like, cool, I'm not only just like getting by doing what I love now, I'm actually thriving doing what I love, and I got plenty of money to give back. I got resources and connections and tools to help me spread the message further, and like you guys are a big part of that, like supporting me on Patreon and buying my merch and buying my beats and doing my coaching programs and everything like that, and my online courses. Like, it's crazy. So thank you guys. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm stoked on this chapter of my life, and I just wanted to share my story with you guys today on my ascension journey. I don't even like to call it like a spiritual awakening, or sometimes even ascension sounds like a little bit conceited or egotistical, or like I think I'm above someone, or you know what I mean, and it's not like that at all. So we just need like a word to call this thing that's happening. So ascension or awakening is kind of a decent way to describe it for now. But in no way do I think that I'm like holier than thou, or like above anyone, or like I've got it all figured out, or anything like that. Like, I'm just a dude trying to live my best life, and I know some cool shit, but I have infinitely way more to learn. And the more I learn, the more I realize that I don't even really know shit. So I just want to share my story, and maybe it'll align and resonate with you in a lot of ways, because I feel like the planet is really undergoing a shift in consciousness right now. Like, you can just see over the last, I mean, it's been going on for a while, but if you look at even just how life was and how society was in the 90s compared to now, it's crazy. There's a lot of consciousness around health and fitness. Like, way more people are into taking care of their bodies, whereas like the 80s and 90s was kind of like more of a gluttonous phase, where things were evolving and technology was rapidly expanding, and it still is, but it wasn't as like conscious or like as like woke. I did air quotes right now, you couldn't see it, but I said woke. Yeah, the 90s was a crazy time, and so I broke down my awakening, my ascension journey into 4 categories, and it's been over the last 10 years, so about like 2 to 3 years per each category. So the first phase was awakening. This is when I just realized that everything was made of energy. I realized there was so much more going on. I realized that I could kind of create my own reality. Like, I started, the first process of awakening was starting to realize, like, oh shit, society doesn't have it figured out. My elders, my family, my ancestors doesn't have it figured out. The schooling system is fucked up. This is kind of the phase where a lot of people become angry, and a lot of people stay in this phase where they start to realize different powers that be that are controlling them, or societal pressures or social norms that are just out of whack and no longer serving humanity. And we start to just question everything. We start to realize that things are not really how they should be, and some people get pretty angry during this phase. So for me, this first phase of just awakening was crucial for me. It was like, I didn't really break out of the matrix, I just realized that I was in the matrix. And I still haven't even seen the movie The Matrix. I like to use that metaphor a lot, but I should probably go watch the damn movie. I probably would love it because I love stuff like that. But anyway, I fell in love with music and nature. And this phase was, a big part of this phase was initiated by plant medicine, namely cannabis and psilocybin mushrooms. So cannabis was something that I first started experimenting with in high school, because I got into like a party phase, where really I was just trying to like get girls. So I was going to parties and drinking and staying out late and trying to be super social, and like that was like the biggest phase of my life that could have been a complete downward spiral, but it turned out to be a good thing, because through the partying I got introduced to cannabis, and through cannabis I got introduced to nature and to mushrooms. So I kind of like fell out of the drinking as much, because all of a sudden I wanted, like, cannabis and alcohol don't even mix that well. Like, they enhance each other, but it's a different frequency. And I'm not even saying cannabis is the highest frequency ever. Like, I might not even, I might quit smoking for good at some point, because it's sometimes feels lower vibration than where I'm at now. But where I was being asleep, cannabis kind of woke me up and made me realize, oh shit, there's more out there. Like, I don't have to go to college and get a job and do what my family says because they don't have it figured out. I can live my own life. Fuck it, I'm gonna live my own life. And cannabis also brought me out into nature. So cannabis really introduced me to music and nature, which are my true loves. If I had to like say I had any true loves, like, being out in nature is just something that, man, if it was my last day on earth, I would just grab my daughter and we'd spend the entire day just being in nature. Not even doing anything, not achieving anything, just being. Nature is amazing. And then cannabis also made me fall in love with music. It was just like hearing sonics in a whole new way, where music's just like, oh my god, this is the dopest thing I've ever heard. All the feels. And then obviously I wanted to start making music because I was so touched and so uplifted and inspired, and it was really raising my vibration to just listen to conscious music. So a lot of it was conscious underground hip hop that was, in this first phase of questioning and kind of being mad at the government a little bit, and being almost feeling like, damn, I've been lied to my whole life. The way that the world works, the foods I've been told to eat, the paradigms I've been told to exist within are all kind of shattering now, and I'm realizing that they're not what I want in life, and that it's my life, it's not everyone else's life, so I can step out of that, and music was a big part of noticing that, because a lot of underground, quote-unquote conscious hip-hop was exposing the ways of the world and the powers that be and the things that, old walls that needed to come down. So that was kind of my first phase, is, going out into nature because I needed a place to blaze one down. Like when you're 16, 17, most of us couldn't be like chiefing up at our parents' house. So we lived right by the mountains. I started going into the mountains, and then I just fell in love with hiking and camping and being outdoors and nature, and just learning so many life-changing epiphanies just by observing nature, and really healing past trauma, healing my physical body, touching down to the codes and the frequencies that are in the forest and the animals, and just getting in tune with that part of myself, and that part of existence was just so beautiful for me. And often it was cannabis, music, nature, and mushrooms all at once, and taking some booms, going out into nature for a 12-hour hike with some music, and blazing one a couple times during the trip to enhance the trip. I didn't really know what I was doing getting into mushrooms, but I somehow stumbled across Terence McKenna, and this is one of those divine synchronicities where things in this period of my life were just happening. Like, I didn't consciously say, I'm going to go have a spiritual awakening right now. Like, that was the last thing on my mind. I was just really trying to party and get girls. But then I get introduced to cannabis, and that kind of causes the first wave of like my third eye to open. And then that introduces me to mushrooms, because some people that were using cannabis had already experienced it with mushrooms. And then I randomly get introduced to Terence McKenna, which I don't even know how. If you don't know who Terence McKenna is, he's like one of the biggest gurus on psychedelics and entheogens and just plant medicine in general, that used to bring a lot of this psychedelic information to the forefront and teach a lot about it. So I remember randomly, after like I got exposed to cannabis, all of a sudden I'm starting to learn about psychedelics, because cannabis is technically like a psychedelic or an entheogen, and has a lot of similar effects and can create similar awakenings for a lot of people, And it makes me sad to see people using the ganja in gluttonous ways sometimes, because it really can be like a healing plant medicine if used correctly. So anyway, I get exposed to Terence McKenna through all that, and I just start researching about mushrooms for months on end for some reason, and I was just really intrigued by it, but I was scared to try it because I didn't want to have like a bad trip or something like that. I was not fully aware that I'm in control of my thoughts and my feelings and stuff yet, so I was still thinking, oh, what if I take mushrooms and it does something, and I have a bad trip, like, because I didn't know I was in control of how my trip went. So I thought, maybe I'll take them and something bad will happen, and definitely can. It's going to bring up some dark shit for a lot of people. So I researched that for months. I started getting intrigued about spirituality, chakras, crystals, energy healing, yoga, things like that just started to be on my radar. I started getting gifted spiritual self-development books. Like, there was a random wave where, like, all my homies were reading Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote Four Agreements and, like, The Mastery of Love, and Wayne Dyer, and all this spiritual self-development stuff kind of came into our lives, and none of us planned on it. I wasn't even aware of it until looking back. I was like, oh, whoa. I didn't know I was even having like an awakening at this time. I'm looking back now saying, oh, this was the catalyst to my ascension and spiritual awakening and Kundalini rising and whatever you want to call all that stuff. This was kind of like the catalyst. So that was phase one, falling in love with music and nature and cannabis and mushrooms opening. Ended up trying mushrooms for my first couple times, having some amazing life-changing experiences where I just got reconnected, because ever since I was a kid I would talk to ghosts and spirits, and had a lot of demonic gnarly situations when I was really young that were very terrifying, and a lot of like spiritual experiences in my younger years were more on the dark, fearful side of things. And then the mushrooms kind of opened me back up to that energy, and really realizing like, whoa, everything is made of energy. I might be God. I can't really prove it, but I think I might be God, and like not like I'm above anyone or that anyone else is less God, but like I am God, this tree is God, this river is God, we are all this one being, that's this one consciousness. And that was kind of like the first part of, I call that like the awakening. And then phase two, and we're going to go deep into like some of my plant medicine journeys and stuff on some future episodes, so I could do whole entire stories on certain trips I've had that you might really enjoy. Things I've learned and epiphanies I've had and such, so on and so forth. So that was phase one. Phase two, I kind of call this the playing phase. It's like, all right, I'm awake in the dream now. I realize I'm dreaming. Let's go create an amazing dream then. So this is the phase where I got exposed to the movie The Secret. I started going to music festivals and like hippie spiritual gatherings on accident, because the mushrooms there was literally one mushroom trip where I realized I am meant to be a musician. I am doing music. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I went home and I made an album, and the rest was history. And I started performing shows and started going on tour, and so this phase two is just kind of like all sparked from phase one, where I woke up, realized I was a conscious creator, and then I just started killing the game. I started touring, I started learning business, I went and made my first album, that came out 10 years ago this month. And if you listen to that first album, it's just called Burnell, Washburn, and it's on Spotify and iTunes and and YouTube and everything, and maybe I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But if you listen to that album, you can totally see it. It's a Kundalini awakening, like by everything I'm talking about, all the messages that are coming through. And I didn't know what I was doing recording wise or technical wise. I just made it in my apartment with my first microphone and had no idea what I was doing. But I just made the choice, like, I'm going to be a musician. I am not working a 9 to 5. I am not going to exist in this paradigm. This is my life, and damn it, I'm going to have an amazing life, yo. I'm not going to live a life that my family wants me to live. I immediately let go of all need for approval from my family. I was like, you know what? I'm a rapper. I don't care if my entire Mormon, uptight, old way of thinking family, and not that they're all like that. Some of my family is amazing, and they're all amazing in their own ways, but I don't care if any of them accept me or approve me. This is what I'm doing, and I just did it. So that was phase two. Phase two lasted a few years, where it was just like my life just got magical, and it was just festival after festival, tour after tour, living the dream. I didn't even realize how much I was living the dream. Like, it just seemed normal, and I was basically doing what I love every day, getting by, making a living off my passion, getting to see the world, starting to network and hang out with people that I idolize, like my heroes, artists that I just used to go to their concerts when they came to Utah and be like, oh my God, someday I'm going to meet that dude. And now I'm smoking a blunt in the hotel with them, and now I'm in the tour van with them, and it's crazy, you know what I mean? And so that was phase two of just law of attraction. I can manifest my own reality. I probably watched The Secret like 100 million times. Like when that movie came out, it shifted a lot of things for me because it was really the first thing that resonated with me after cannabis and mushrooms, kind of having these epiphanies out of nature of like, I think that I can create my own reality, and I don't have to live in this way that society and family told me I have to live. So The Secret was just the first thing that really kind of was like one of my Ascension guides that I could relate to, and I had a bunch of friends that were into it too, so it was this beautiful time. And I started going to festivals. I got into yoga a little bit. I started understanding chakras. I started getting into crystals and keeping crystals all around my house and burning sage and like just all the hippie woo-woo spiritual things that you do kind of after you awaken. So that was phase two. Phase three was the growing phase, and this is kind of like the dark night of my soul. This was a hard phase. This was the roughest phase of my life, and it's also the best phase of my life that I'm so grateful for. Oh my God, wow. If I hadn't gone through this third phase, I would not be thriving right now. Like, during this third phase, it was hard. I thought my life was over so many times. I thought I couldn't go any further. Rock bottom just kept getting lower and lower for me, and I was just like, it was tough. It was really tough. And it triggered everything that I'm going through now. So this third phase, the dark night of the soul, was depression, stress, scarcity, fear, unstable living situations, my music success dwindling because I kind of developed an ego around all of this awakening and playing that had occurred. And you know, all of a sudden I thought I was the shit, going on tour and doing what I love, and I didn't like consciously think I was the shit. It was just like this underlying ego where like part of me thought I was the shit, and then the other part of me thought I didn't deserve it. And so I had this mixed up ego that was sabotaging me, where I didn't believe I was worthy of all the success I was having, or I didn't think I was going to be able to sustain it. Like I was getting so much attention. Every girl wanted me. I was getting every promoter in the region wanting to book me on their shows and festivals. All these bigger artists are wanting to work with me. All these people are paying attention, expecting greatness from me, and so I didn't feel worthy of it. I felt like I can't keep this up, or somehow I fooled the whole world into putting me on these stages, and who am I? I'm not really this good. I'm not really this dope. And so I got all fearful about it, and I completely sabotaged it, and I just started getting fearful and scarcity, and I started getting depressed again, where, you know, my diet wasn't on point. I wasn't working out back then. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't really into self-development. I had kind of slipped into this phase where I wasn't growing anymore, and things were actually going downhill. Like my 24, 25-year-old self was less successful than my 21, 22-year-old self, and that really shook my ego up. Because we want to just go on this trajectory where it's just constant elevation, constant growth, constant ascension, up and up and up and up. But we forget that we need these times where we slip back, or we stagnate, or we hit these plateaus in order to trigger the breakthrough to the next level. So I kind of thought my music career was dying out, and then I was coming from my head too much and not my heart, so my music wasn't coming out as well, and like I just wasn't stoked on anything I was creating, so then I wasn't stoked on performing, so I started not attracting bigger shows, and money started to be a stress. And then out of nowhere, I had a kid. I wasn't expecting to. I met this girl, started hanging out. Boom, we have a kid. Like, I wasn't even in a relationship with her. I wasn't even hanging out with her for that long. It was one of those, like, God's plan moments. Like, it really humbled me. Because here I had been thinking that I'm just this conscious creator and I can create anything I want through my thoughts and my emotions. And yes, that's true. I do create, allow, or attract everything in my life. And I do take full responsibility for all of that. But this also humbled me to think, hey, maybe there's like a bigger picture for my life that I'm not even aware of, that I'm not maybe in control of as much. That's sort of like divinely planned out for me in a way. And I don't believe necessarily like every aspect of our life is like chosen before birth and we don't really have any control, and it's because that's kind of a disempowering way to live. But I also don't think that I'm just in complete control. I'm kind of in the middle now, where I'm just like surrendering to God's plan or the universe's plan, and trusting that there's bigger, better things than I could ever consciously think of that are meant for me. And then also just being 100% responsible for every circumstance in my life is either created, allowed, or attracted by me. And kind of playing in that nice, harmonious middle ground balance. But I had a kid, and I basically thought my life was over because I never wanted to be a dad. Like, at least I never thought I wanted to be. I thought having a kid meant my music career was over. Like, boom, I guess there's no more going on tour for me because I'm used to just hopping in the van and being gone for 3 weeks. Like, you can't do that when you have a kid. I'm used to like, oh, I just got booked on this festival in San Francisco. Okay, cool. I hop on a plane and I go there and I figure out how I'm getting back later. Like, fly out to Texas for South by Southwest. Don't have a place to stay. Don't know how I'm getting back. I just go there. And I used to be able to do that, and it was really awesome to live that free spirit and that spontaneous for a while. But once I became a father, I knew all that stuff was going to sort of be out the window. And in my mind, I thought, I'm going to have to hop back into society's paradigm. I think I need to go get a 9-to-5 job so I can support this family now and be responsible and have my shit together. And it was the most depressing feeling ever. It was such a contractive feeling, and now I'm so much more in tune that like I would immediately know. If I started thinking like that, I'd be like, whoa, bro, look at all this fear coming in. That's silly. Like, let's transcend this and choose a different paradigm because this is fear controlling you. But all this fear felt so real that I really thought I was going to have to give up on my dreams. And I was like, man, I've been building all this stuff for, at that point it had been, I guess, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, 5 or 6 years straight. I'd just been going every day, all day, every day, putting every single ounce of my energy into growing this passion. And now it's all over, and now all my work has been in vain. And luckily, I snapped out of that. And I started realizing, a lot of my favorite MCs and musicians in general, they're parents. They have kids. Okay, when did they have their kids? All right, a lot of them had their kids before they, quote unquote, made it or became successful or whatever. And so they had their kid kind of during their ascension process or during the process of achieving their dreams and goals. So if they could do it, then I could do it. Like Slug, Brother Ali, Eminem, all these cats that I look up to. Okay, they can be good dads and musicians. And all right, maybe it's not completely over. But I was really kind of depressed because I was in this living situation that I was not feeling. I was living with a roommate and his new girlfriend, and it was a tiny apartment. So a roommate and his girlfriend, my soon-to-be baby's mama, and we're in this tiny apartment that I never even liked in the first place. that, and I'm grateful for it looking back now, and I've always been grateful to have a place to stay regardless, always been blessed, but it wasn't my ideal situation. And I was really feeling crowded and really just not happy with my life, and I didn't have any money, and I was barely getting by, and I couldn't really see a way out besides working a job that I hate and just living like this soul-numbing existence, and it was really sad. So I started getting depressed, and then me and my baby's mama started fighting a lot because we're bringing new energy. She's about to have a baby, or we're about to have a baby, but she's pregnant, so there's a lot of emotions and hormones going on there. I have all these hormones and emotions, and I'm just a mess too because I think my life's over and I'm not happy, and I didn't have her necessarily move in with me because I was madly in love with her. I had her move in with me because I thought it was the right, responsible thing to do. And all of this pain and hardship was so rough. Like, I had a big falling out with my dad around this time, where he basically came into my life after ignoring me for 5 years when I was killing it and crushing it, never came to any of my shows, never acknowledged any of my success. And then he comes when I'm like basically at rock bottom, dark night of the soul, darkest down and out, most down and out I've ever been, and just basically like rips me to shreds even more. Just looks at me like, you're the biggest piece of shit. What are you doing with your life? You're about to have a kid and you need to get your shit together. Like, you're still chasing this stupid ass rap dream. Why the fuck do you think you're some black dude from the hood? Why the fuck do you want to do rap? Like, this is so stupid. You need to join the real world and get your shit together. And like, we had a pretty harsh falling out. And I don't want to like throw him under the bus or whatever because I'm healing that relationship right now. But he has a different paradigm, grew up in a different time, different belief system. We're just kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. And I love him and forgive him now, but it's like, it was really hard when I needed him most. He came and ripped me to shreds. So I had a falling out with him. I basically started like falling out with most all of my friends because I realized half of them were people I didn't want to be around. Like, they were just drinking or doing drugs or partying too much, or they didn't have any goals or ambitions in life. The other half were starting to have kids and get married and become too busy to do some of the things we used to do. So it's like I started losing all my friends. I lost lots of family members, falling out with my dad. My mom dies, who was my number one support system, the only person in my life that just fully let me be me. Since I was a little kid, God bless her heart, she just didn't try to control me. She was very strict and hard on me in a lot of ways, but she was also very empowering, just letting me be me. Not trying, like, my dad had to make me tuck in my shirt and wear certain types of clothes and wear a certain haircut, and I had to play golf because he was into golf, and I, couldn't be into skateboarding because he was against skateboarders, or like, stuff like that. Like, he was more so controlling of how I should be, whereas my mom was like, you want to wear a ninja costume to kindergarten? Like, do it. You want to wear a Power Rangers costume to the grocery store with me and like run around in the aisles pretending that you're a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger? Do it. She never acted embarrassed of me or anything like that, whereas my dad was always embarrassed of me and always wanted to mold me into like his ideal of what a perfect child should be, because he was insecure basically and wanted me to be a reflection of how great he was. So he wanted people to like see this perfect kid who was going to be a lawyer or a doctor, and he had that kind of vision for me, and I was kind of almost rebelling against that vision, so we had a falling out. But my mom was just like, always believed in me and supported my dreams. Whatever phase I was going through, she had my back. So losing her was super hard for me. And I've reframed it into being the best thing that ever happened to me, because I have this angel now that's just watching over me and has my back even more than she did in physical life. But losing my mom was probably my biggest fear. Like, I had lost friends before. I had lost multiple friends to overdose and suicide. And so I had, like, gotten used to death and losing loved ones, but I was super scared to lose my mom. And then when I faced that, it was like, okay, I just faced, like, arguably one of the most challenging things that I could face. And I'm getting stronger from it. It's hard. I'm crying my eyes out some days, but other days I'm feeling like, you know what, I'm going to go be 100 times more successful and like, make my dreams happen for my mom, because, like, she raised a good person, and I'm going to put her good parenting to use in a productive way that benefits society. So I started making it through that, and this brought me to my fourth phase, which I'm in now. This is kind of the Kundalini rising. So first I had the awakening, where it's like I realize I'm in the matrix. Then I have, like, the playing law of attraction phase, where I realize I can create my own reality and I'm not a victim anymore. I released the victim mentality and, started mobbing pretty deep and living the dream. And then it all came crashing down, and I faced hardship after hardship. I lost my grandma, then I lost my grandpa, then I lost my other my mom, and falling out with my dad, and, like, my entire friend group just dissipated. Like, everyone that I was kicking it with just all disappeared. Like, some of them moved to different states. Some of them had kids. Some of them got married. Some of them just shifted their whole life around. Some of them started working multiple jobs and being too busy for anything. So, like, this dark night of the soul in the third phase was so harsh. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because it brought me to phase 4, which is this Kundalini rising, where, holy fuck, I'm so strong. I just made it out. Like, my homie Dumb Luck has a lyric in one of his songs. He's like, if it's true that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, then damn, I must be a fucking monster. And that's how I started feeling. Like, wow, I can make it through my mom dying and still be happy and awesome and thriving better than ever. I can make it through losing friends and family members and all this stuff, and getting evicted, and getting a car repossessed, and having just the harshest financial times of my life, where, like, I'm like 30 G's in debt, and bills are just coming up faster than I can. I'm way faster than I can make money, and I'm, like, so depressed and down and out that I'm not even inspired to go be successful in business, and I'm trying so fucking hard. Like, none of this time I had ever given up. I was trying so hard, and that's part of the reason that this dark night of the soul was so harsh on me, is because I didn't surrender to it. I didn't give up. I was literally busting ass every day trying to make my life better, and it just kept getting worse and worse and harder and harder. So it was very difficult, but then, boom, I made it through that, and I'm feeling so strong. All of a sudden, I started getting healthy. I got obsessed with personal development. Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Marie Forleo, like Jim Rohn, like all these self-development authors, books. I started listening to audiobooks. I started a morning routine. I started doing a lot of the things that we talk about on this podcast. I woke back up to my power, like, because during the dark night of the soul, I almost, not fully, but I almost slipped back into, like, a victim mentality of thinking, like, life is just happening to me rather than for me. So I stepped back into, like, my empowered self, my higher self, of realizing that, like, this is actually happening for me, and this is a gift here to help me grow, because everything else I've gone through in the past has just only made me stronger. So damn, this must be the universe's way of just super up-leveling me right now. I'm gonna mob deep. I'm gonna own this shit. I started listening to audiobooks. I started eating super healthy. I just went on this gnarly fitness journey where and this rising phase started about 4 years ago, right after I had a kid, when my daughter was like maybe about 1. I started working out. I started eating healthy. I started meditating. I started taking cold showers. I started going back out into nature more. I started, bringing plant medicine back. I started realizing that I could create the life of my dreams, and how powerful and beautiful and amazing I am, and how inspiring I can be, and how, like, if I hadn't have gone through all this, I wouldn't be able to serve and help as many people. And so now I'm just like so much more equipped to provide value to the world, and I'm learning through my self-development and business studies that providing value is how you basically become rich and prosperous. And so I'm just like, yes, let's own all this pain, let's own all this hardship and struggle, and let's go beast mode on the world and just let this Kundalini that's rising within me ooze out on everything I do, and just, I'm going to make the world a magical, wonderful place. I'm going to uplift and inspire and empower every single being that I encounter. I want to enrich every life that comes across my path. And now I have the tools and the strength to do that because I've just overcome all these challenges, and I'm just like at one, and I've learned so much. And this rising phase started getting me, at first it was more business and self-development, and then it took like over the last year and a half, took a full spiritual approach where I just like got way deeper into meditation. I started following spiritual leaders that were resonating with me a lot more than like business leaders, and some are both. Like, there's my favorite business people that are making millions or billions of dollars are very, very spiritually in tuned, and they meditate and they do plant medicine and stuff like that. But I stopped resonating as much with like the goal setting and like the more toxic masculine old paradigm of hustle and work hard and struggle and all that stuff. And I started tapping more into like a divine feminine, surrender, flow, allowing, receiving, aligning, taking that divine inspired aligned action, and everything just got better. All of a sudden I went from being broke to like having plenty of money, to getting in the best shape of my life, to traveling all over the world. Just within the last like 6 months, I've been to all these dream destinations that were just on my vision board that I thought they were like way down the road. Like maybe when I'm 50 or 60, I'll get to go to these places. Like all these dreams seem so out of reach, and then all of a sudden I was like, why can't I live these dreams right now? So I just barely went to Hawaii. I just went to New York. I've been to San Francisco, LA, all over the place. I've been, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, like been to these amazing places just within the last 6 months or so. And the travels they haven't been as long because I have a kid now, so I'm not going on these 3-week tours, but I'm going on these 4 or 5 day trips that are life-changing, that are such beautiful frequencies on a higher vibe than I've ever traveled before, where it's just like divine synchronicity after blessing after blessing after blessing. And I come back from these travels so inspired, and like all of a sudden, boom, I launched my podcast. I released 2 albums. I dropped 824 album. That sold out. The release party crushed it. Then boom, a couple months later, I dropped the Purest album. That sells out in less than a week, and the album release party does super well. And then boom, I launched my podcast, and that starts taking off. And my YouTube channel just starts popping off, and the music I'm writing starts crushing it, and I start getting way better at making beats, and all of a sudden, like, my beats start flying off the shelf, and bigger names and like amazing artists that I really look up to and respect are reaching out to me to work on music with me. And then I launched my coaching business. I just decided, fuck it, I'm a life coach. I don't want to be a life coach. I am a life coach. Like, that was something that was in the back of my mind since I started coming out of like the dark night period, where I was becoming obsessed with self-development and just reading all these books. I was like, man, all I want to do is be a life coach. But no one's going to really take me seriously because I'm kind of struggling myself still. And it's like, it was in the back of my mind. But then I just shifted my paradigm, and like I stopped putting all my dreams and goals into the future tense and just started putting them in the now tense, because right now is all we have. So I figured out how to embody my dreams now and live my dream life right now, like just by choosing it on a quantum level, just stepping into that version of myself and that version of reality. just embodying it on all levels and bringing it forth, and really training my subconscious to view all my goals and dreams as already being done, so I can just embody that, okay, and I'm coming from that rather than coming towards that. It's not, these goals and dreams are not something that I want in the future, they're something I'm living now. And that's like the biggest shift I've had recently, is just like, oh man, no wonder all my things were taking so long to manifest. It was because I kept putting them in the future, like someday I will, or I can't wait until I blah, 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 or wouldn't it be nice if. And those are definitely way empowering ways to look at life. But they still, because then you have hope and you're feeling like my life can get better and it will get better. But when you shift it to, hey, my life is already better. My life is already just bumping. Like, I'm crushing it. I'm genuinely thriving right now. Once you put all your affirmations and your goals and dreams and into the present, and you just embody that, that's when everything starts to shift for you. So that's kind of the 4 phases so far. I'm excited to see what the next phase is, or if it just keeps cycling in a cyclical rhythm or pattern, or, who knows what's going to happen next. But I think right now in this rising phase, if I were to just make an intuitive guess on like what the 5th phase would be, the 5th phase would just be like thriving. Whereas like I go from awakening to playing to massive growing pains to rising back up, and then 5th phase will be thriving, where I'm just living my dreams at a high level and everything's just working out super well for me for quite a long period. And then maybe the 6th phase will be like serving, where I'm just serving at a high level, where all of my energy is spent towards giving back, building water wells, building schools, putting out inspiring information and content that helps people. And I'll just be spending obviously I'm spending a good portion of my energy doing that right now, but I'm spending a lot of energy on rising and letting this Kundalini fully emerge within me, so I really can go on to thrive and then serve. But yeah, I think that's kind of the next few phases will be thriving and serving, and then maybe there'll be another awakening and maybe another dark night, and who knows what will happen. But right now I'm very, very much enjoying this rising process, and I'm very grateful that there's a lot of people undergoing this process with me, because then I don't feel alone in this journey. I feel like my soul tribe is right along this path with me, where these phases, you might have gone through very similar phases, or you're going through similar phases, and you might have just gone through them within a few months or a few years of when I've gone through them. And if you're around the same age as me, which is like mid to late 20s, you're probably an indigo child. And if you have kids, your kids are probably crystal children, which are next level. Like, they already started this, they came to this life just already ascended and already awake in so many ways. And so they're going to take a lot of the framework that indigo children are kind of breaking down the old walls and laying the new foundation, and then the crystal children are going to be able to really build upon that. And you're already seeing it come into fruition with the way that the world is changing and evolving so rapidly. Like, it's insane how much technology is expanding, and everything is just evolving at an exponential rate. So it is absolutely a beautiful time to be alive right now. There's a lot of people on the planet waking up who are starting to realize they create their own reality. They're starting to have a we over me mentality, where they're looking at the collective and the whole rather than just themselves. People are taking care of their nutrition and their health, and people are starting to be a lot more conscious about the products they consume and the companies they support, and how our actions are impacting the environment. And yeah, it's a beautiful time where a lot of people are going through this ascension process. So I wanted to share my journey so far and break it down into those 4 phases. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're obviously going through some type of awakening. Otherwise, all this content wouldn't resonate with you. And there's no such thing as coincidences, so you wouldn't have just randomly clicked on this podcast or found my channel or stumbled across me online if you weren't really meant to be around this energy and soak up this wisdom right now and just be a part of this kind of process and tap into this tribe. So huge thank you for being a part of this journey. Huge thank you for listening. Like I said, if you haven't, leave a review because those really help me. The social proof is helping this tribe grow. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment. Shoot me a message on whatever social media platform. I'm super active on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can message me on any of those. Let me know what you got from the episode, and I'll screenshot that and share it. I can leave you anonymous if you want, or I can give you a shout out. But yeah, it's such a beautiful time to be alive, and I'm so grateful to have people like you joining me. We're not alone. We're growing. We're about to be thriving. We're so much more powerful than we realize, and the world needs us to keep ascending and keep rising up so we can go make a positive impact, empower, inspire, and uplift others so the entire world can step into a place of thriving, enjoying, and being abundant and just being more fulfilled. So I love you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Make sure to shoot me a message and let me know that you were listening. And let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to hear me talk about on a future episode. I'd be happy to talk about it if it's something that I have expertise and passion and insight on. So I love you. Have an amazing rest of your day. Get out there and enjoy some nature if you can. Go soak up some sunshine. Get a nice little meditation in. Go to bed tonight on a high frequency. Listen to some hypnosis as you're falling asleep tonight, or some sound healing to help program your subconscious, and just set the intention that you're going to have an amazing rest of your day. Set the intention before you go to bed tonight that you're just going to get amazing sleep, and you're going to wake up feeling healthier, happier, more inspired, and more energized than you've ever felt in your life. And tomorrow's just going to be an incredible next level day where extraordinary, magical, wonderful blessings just flood through on all levels. So I love you. I absolutely appreciate you listening. I believe in you. And I'll see you on the next episode. We drop new episodes every Tuesday and every Friday at 5:55 a.m. So make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the tribe. Peace and blessings.